Welcome to Model Engineers Laser. My name is Holly and this is a construction video on how to build our small drawer running box, which we call Kit 201. So when you get a pack delivered from us, the first thing you need to do is check that you've got 19 different parts altogether. I'm not going to go through them all now, we'll go through them as the build just to make the video quite concise. And the first part that you need are these pieces. There should be two that are identical. They're not handed in any way as in one's left and one's right for that reason, but they have got a left and a right side. So part one of your instructions is to take one of these side pieces, which we call H. If it helps you in advance, you can label all of these with a bit of masking tape. I've built quite a few of these now, so I don't need to do that phase, but if you want to, feel free. So we're laying this with the handle away from you and the cutouts put on the right hand side. That just helps us with our instructions later on. And these enclosed slots here are ready for our next stage. I'm just going to slide that just out of there for now because we now want the shelf. And we also want our partition. Now our shelf and our base look very similar. I'm just going to show you these two parts. Now the difference between the shelf and the shelf has tabs on the side here and the base does not. And you will see that these tabs are short on the one side and long on the other, where on the base of the drawer they're symmetrical. So it's not this piece you want, it's this piece. So having taken the shelf, we also need our partition. You really can't mistake this for any other part. It's got long protruding tabs at the bottom, tabs either side, and 3 cutouts in the middle. And the first part of your build is to slot that into there. So this is going to be the base of our shelf. I'm not gluing this as I go because I don't need to build another one, but you would glue along your edge here. You don't need to glue on these surfaces here, but in here. So when you slot into there, all your contact surfaces have got glue on. The next part you're going to need is one of your combed edges. Again, there are 2 variations of this. There is one with slots in the bottom here and tabs on the side, and the other one does not have tabs or slots. This is not the piece that we need. So we're going to put that one away for later, and this is the one that we are working with. This piece now slots onto the tabs here. Again, you would glue this. For the purposes of this video, I'm not going to. And we're now going to turn this on its edge. So before we would do that, we would glue our edge here, because bringing our side back into shot, we're now going to turn that part ready to put the base on. Now, as you can see, we have it with the combed edge along the edge that's flat with the slot in, and the open section is towards the end with these open tabs. Before we try and align this into these slots, we need to add the base. That sounds like something from a song, doesn't it? All about the base. Got myself distracted. So the base piece is quite a large piece. It has a flush edge along the front there. 4 slots in the bottom where these large tabs are going to go. And we've got some tabs along the back here with 2 either side. So this is going to go with the flat edge here along with this edge, and the tabs are coming out with the tabs on this side. So being careful not to pull all this assembly apart. This is where it covers up what we're doing, which is why I didn't put it on earlier. That's going to slot onto there. So if I look carefully, you can see we've got some weird shape going on there. Remember, we're gluing this as we're going along. We're now going to put our glue in here and line, I'm going to spin that round so you can see that tab, there's a tab here that slots nicely into there, a tab here that goes in there, and this tab slots in there. Those are all of the tabs that need to be glued in place, and the gravity's just fighting me on that one. There. I'm just going to give you a little spin round so you can see how it looks all the way around. Now, we're still working in this way round, and we want our next side piece, minus dog hair, so with these cutouts to match the cutouts on this side. They're a mirror image of each other, and that is to go on top. So again, with your glue, we would glue all these slots into the tabs. There we go. And that is being held, there we go, into place. It hasn't got any glue on at this stage, but it already is quite robust, and you can see it coming together quite nicely from there. There's a couple of things to point out at this point, which aren't in the instructions, but just useful to know. You'll see there are 2 slots here. That's to make the build universal and to keep costs low. In this particular model, these slots aren't used, so they just become redundant holes. And that's the same for these external combs. They have 3 holes in this one to match the 3 holes, let's spin it round, that slot into the shelves here. We do another model which has a deeper drawer and a full-size tray, which does utilise these slots. But again, for ease and universal, these slots will not affect the build in any way. So although they're there, don't think, what are they for? They're not meant to be used in this build. So we have these cutouts here on the top, and you will notice that the top ones are deeper than the ones at the bottom. That's to allow for these tabs on the combs to go in and then still have some depth to take the back of the box. So again, it does look similar to the base. Where it has a flush edge here. It doesn't have holes in the middle, they're along the base, and it has 2 tabs either side. So this is just a case of lining them up and folding it in. Again, we're gluing as we go along if we're actually building this, but if you're doing a test build, you wouldn't be. And the tabs on the bottom slide into the base. It's wood, it's not perfectly flat, so you might need to give it a little wiggle like I have. And that is the main construction of your box. If you have glued it at this stage, give it a good round of masking tape around this area here and this area here while you let it dry. And this will be the area in where we fit our drawer. The other thing to note, I don't know if this is going to stay together, oh, it might, is there are 2 internal combs we mentioned earlier to allow for our dividers to fit into. And we talked about the tabs on the shelf being extra long. That's to allow for these combs to fit in. So before you glue and tape it all together, so you don't, ooh, because I've not stuck it all together, it's worth putting these in, pegging them together, clamping them together. They do just literally sit on the shelf. So some glue and some pegs to hold it in. Make sure you don't get glue in between the gaps here, because it's quite a tight clearance for the combs, and any excess glue you get in there will prevent the combs from sitting nicely. Depending on how confident you are that you haven't got glue in the slots, to help it keep its shape, you've got your peg on, but you could also put some of the dividers in just to help it maintain the shape, so you know later that it will all fit in nicely and it will hold some of it in place for you while it gives it that strength and support. Now the idea is that these are adjustable, so you don't want to glue them in place. Depends on the size of the bottles and things you are using. And then you'd put your masking tape round. So you can see it's starting to take shape. The next part is to make the drawer, which has the integrated front part. Now we come to building the drawer for the unit, which includes two side pieces here. The front piece, which has the logo on, the drawer base that we talked about earlier to not mix it up for the shelf, and the back of the drawer unit. So this won't hold together as nicely as that does, so I can't build it in the same way. And again, you would glue it. You will see that there are 3 tabs cut out here, slots here for these 3 tabs, which make the back of the drawer. They're symmetrical, so you don't have to worry if you've got it the other way around. It's completely up to you. You will notice that they're actually not symmetrical cuts on the side. So it is shorter at the bottom than it is at the top. So when you are building, it's worthy to note that the side pieces sit along the edge. They don't sit on top of the wood, they sit along it and fit in like so. There we go. Now, you might think you have it the wrong way round if you see that you've got a little set there and that the back is a shorter drop. So I'm just going to lift it so you can see to the camera. Can you see that there? So you can see there's a small step. That is purposefully there. Please don't think you've built it wrong. That is because it's a universal back of a drawer for the other kit that we do. The combs on the back of the unit would foul on there if these were at the same height. So that is purposefully dropped. So hence why I can't build it like that one. Just to bear that one in mind. The front piece fits on to the 3 tabs here. They are all in line. I mean, you can put it on backwards and you logo all the backwards if you want to be a bit quirky, but it doesn't really make a difference. It's not going to hold together. And that goes on there with this piece slotting into there. So just so you can see there that the sides all fit flush. You see that the sides all fit flush here. And then the drawer will stick out the bottom there because it's going to fill this gap that runs along the back of the unit here. Again, once you've got your other end on and you've glued it all, some masking tape around there while it dries will be sufficient to hold it in place as long as you've used a good standard wood glue. And that will be your box ready for varnishing.